One of my favorite memories as a wrestling fan, and one of my favorite memories in general, was the WWE pay-per-views being shown at your local Winghouse. It truly was a communal experience. The Winghouse pay-per-view didn't last long, even though it felt like it was a part of my entire childhood. I saw many pay-per-views through the time they showed them. I remember watching CM Punk win every one of his Money in the Banks. I remember watching Mark Henry induct everyone into the Hall of Pain. I remember watching John Cena versus The Rock once in a lifetime. This was all thanks to the Winghouse pay-per-view showing. This was the cheap and affordable way for my parents to make sure I saw each and every pay-per-view. It was always fun to see the characters that walked through the door to come watch the pay-per-views. I always remember the gangster dressed pimp that would always show up dressed to the nines. He always shouted that Mark Henry looked like Kool-Aid Man. The Winghouse was always packed with people, and they were definitely a rowdy bunch. And they were always all in with the pay-per-views. These were special times. The good old days. And this brings me to my most important moment and memory I have of wrestling, and from these days. I was about 9 or 10. It was 2010. I was with my parents at a Winghouse watching WrestleMania 26. To jog the memory, it started with Show Miz versus R-Truth and John Morrison. Then to follow was Ted DiBiase Jr. versus Randy Orton, and then a WrestleMania favorite, the Money in the Bank. And this is when Money in the Bank was still a pretty big deal. Jack Swagger went on to win this match, and I was one of the few Swagger fans. And then you had a fun match in Triple H versus Sheamus, and with that came the weird and odd in Bret Hart versus Mr. McMahon. And fast forward a few more matches and we get to what I was there for. I was there for the career versus streak match, the main event. Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, versus the Phenom, The Undertaker. To be completely honest, this is the only match I truly remember from this WrestleMania. I was so invested in this story between Taker and Shawn. Shawn Michaels had always been my favorite as a kid, so a lot was at stake for me. The match starts with two men face to face, and Shawn brings his thumb across his throat to mock Taker. The intensity is boiling. The bell rings and Taker charges Michaels. Back and forth, both guys strike with aggression. Shortly, Taker counters and wrenches Shawn's arm and goes for old school. Classic Taker. But in a flash, Shawn is back on the attack. At this point, the Winghouse is hopping. You can feel that there is a definite split between the local crowd on who they want to win this. Flash forward, and we're about 16 minutes into the match. Taker throws Shawn out of the ring and strips down the announcer table in front of Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler. Taker picks up Shawn and goes for last ride, and Shawn reverses over top of Taker and nails him with a super kick, laying Taker out on top of the announcer table. Shawn climbs on top of the turnbuckle. A WrestleMania moonsault delivered almost perfectly by Shawn sends both men crashing through the announcer table. A roaring pop among the people at the Winghouse. This was very memorable to say the least. Shawn tries to take advantage and rolls Taker into the ring and hits Deadman with sweet chin music. I think the streak is over. 1, 2, Taker kicks out. Shawn goes for another super kick, but Taker reverses with a chokeslam. NANI?! お前はもう死んでいる. He proceeds to hit Shawn with a tombstone and a pin. Shawn responds with a career-saving kick-out, but Shawn is laying there a broken and battered man. I'm starting to lose hope. Taker famously drops the straps down. Shawn claws himself to his knees and Shawn brings his thumb across his throat to mock the dead man, and defiantly slaps the dead man across the face. Oh my God! Igniting the Undertaker. In return, Taker gives Heartbreak Kid his career-ending jumping tombstone piledriver. 1, 2, 3. Silence at the Winghouse. And the Phenom was 18-0. My 10-year-old heart was broken. And as the dead man and HBK lay there in exhaustion, and Justin Roberts, the ring announcer, he says, "Your winner, The Undertaker." Tears of pure heartbreak pull in my eyes that I quickly drink away in my Dr. Pepper. One of my heroes was no longer going to be able to wrestle. I knew then that this was all predetermined, but it didn't change the fact that I loved this moment in time. This made an impact on me. Because let me tell you something. That's what wrestling is all about. The moments and the memories.